Hello everyone. Hope all of you are fine. Please give me the feedback about the previous classes, the questions and your suggestion for the betterment. That all you can mention in the comment section. In this class, we are going to move further to the lesson number 3. It's about the production and employment. Friends, have you heard about the term GDP? Frequently it appears in our newspaper, especially in these days. The newspaper gives the report about GDP. It says, due to corona lockdown situation, there are many industries not functioning. The economical sectors was not functioning fully. Therefore, the GDP was affected. The growth of GDP becomes less, and different news we see in newspapers about the GDP. What do you mean by it? What do you understand about GDP? Would you just collect some ideas what you have read in newspaper or what you have listened in the news through televisions? Can you just recollect some of those things that we are going to discuss in this lessons? So keep in your mind that GDP is something which we are going to discuss now. By seeing the news about the GDP, you may ask certain questions. What is it? What is GDP? And what is its relation to the Indian economic sector? So these are some of the questions you may ask while we hear about the word or the news about GDP. Also, let us try to understand what is the relation of GDP to the Indian economic sectors and what is it exactly talking about. In this lesson, we are going to discuss few things about the GDP. If we look around our society, we can see that the people are engaged in many different activities. The activities for the livelihood. The people do different sorts of jobs or engage in occupation. The job which give them money for their survival. In classes 8 and 9, we have studied about the different occupations that the people were engaged for the livelihood. These activities of employment had been classified into 3 categories. The employment that the people were engaged or the people are engaged. Even right now, the people are engaged in different types of employment. And these are classified broadly into 3 sections. The first one is the agriculture and related sector. Second one is the manufacturing. Third is the service sector. So the sector of employment is divided into 3 categories. Those are agricultural and related activities. Second one is the manufacturing, and the third one is the service sector. Okay. The first one is the agriculture and the related activities like mining, forestry, fishing, such activities where the nature comes in the prominent role of production. And in the second category, in manufacturing, that the people were engaged of making different goods using the machines or tools, that is known as the manufacturing. And the third category is the service sector, where nothing is being produced but the service is very much essential for the functioning of the above two sectors. Here is a table with a list of different types of occupation. Tailors, basket weavers, flower cultivators, milk vendor, fishermen, priest, courier service, workers in match factory, so on. There are different categories of occupations. Can you classify these occupations belongs to which sectors, or in what sectors each one belongs? See, the first sector is the agriculture and related activities like mining, including that, and any types of production that done directly on from the nature, like mining and farming. Such comes under the agricultural sector. And the second one is in manufacturing. A person who is manufacturing a matchbox, or a person who is manufacturing a candle, a person who is manufacturing a safety pin, and a person or an industry which manufactures cars and big vehicles or big types of machineries. These are all comes under the manufacturing. And the third is the service sector. In the service sector, we include a wide variety of people. The people like tailors, and the people like teachers, postman, auto rickshaw driver, a taxi wala, and different types of people includes in the service sector. So just looking at this table, try to classify what category the people belongs to. In page number 29, following the table of occupations, there is another table which is talking about the percentage of workers employed in different sectors in India during 1972 to 73 and 2009 to 2010. That is a shift or a change what is occurred in the sectors of employment during the last 37 years, starting from 1972 to 73 and till 2009 and 10, the changes of 37 years in the sector of employment. See, what are the major changes that you observe from this table? And which sector achieved the growth and which sector becomes less in employment? Also discuss about what are the reason of this change. In previous classes we have discussed about the employment opportunities or the employment activities what the people were doing. So based on that, make an evaluation and find out the answers of what was the reason for the changes in the sectors. I think you are able to identify the given pictures in which category of employment activities these people belongs to. Now let us look about the GDP. Take an example of two families. One is rich and another one is poor. How can we assume that a family is rich and another is poor? On what criteria or on what basis that we say the person or the family is poor, the other family is rich? We judge the family as rich or poor based on the dress which they wear, the food what they eat, the house where they live in, and the vehicle which they use for travel, and also the hospitals where they go for the treatment, the houses which they live in, and mostly and all around the income which they earn in the family. Based on these things that we are judging whether the family is rich or poor. When we're talking about the country as a whole, the income is calculated, or the GDP is calculated based on the total goods and services that produced in the country in an year. The total value of goods and services that are produced in the country for a year is calculated as the GDP. We use as the total value of goods and services that are produced in our country as an indicator of income, which means in 1 year, what are the amount of goods produced in our country, and also the services that produced in our country. The total value of the produced services and the produced goods are taken as the value or the income of our country. The technical term which we used for denoting this value is GDP, or Gross Domestic Product. What is GDP? GDP is the value of total goods and services produced in our country for an year is known as the GDP of our country. Here is a table given in page number 30, which is talking about the value of GDP for India for 2 different years, that is 1972 to 73 year and 2009 and 2010. Okay, these 2 different years, 1972 to 73 and 2009 to 2010. By observing this graph, we can judge what type of increase has taken place in production in these 3 sectors of economy. We can observe that in 1972 to 73, agriculture was the biggest sector. The biggest sector of employment or the biggest sector of production was agriculture. When it comes in 2009 and 2010, the service sector has grown to the largest employment sector. Here we can observe that the service sector was developed into the largest employment sector, whereas the agricultural sector has gone down. When we compare the changes that has taken in these 3 sectors from 1972 to 73 to 2009 and 10, we can observe that the service sector and the manufacturing sectors achieved more than 10 times of growth, whereas the agricultural growth was coming only approximately around 7 times. Now let us look about how do we estimate the GDP. We said that there are 3 employment sectors: agriculture and related sector, manufacturing and the service sector. The people are engaged in any of these sectors, and there the people produces number of goods and services. What we want to find out is how much goods and services that are produced in all these sectors. We may be wonder, how can it be possible? Because thousands of goods are being produced and thousands of services are being produced. How can we count all of this, or what is the possible way for counting all these goods and services produced in our country? So that we may think that it is an enormous task. And we may ask, how can it be possible to add up all the goods which are produced in our country, like all the cars and all the number of mobiles and all the number of goods like pen and papers, slippers, sandals and shoes, and all such varieties of goods? How it be possible to add and calculate the amount of all these goods and also the services produced in our country? To solve this problem, the economists have suggested it is not adding the number of products, rather it is adding the value of goods. We have to calculate not the number of the products, rather we are adding the value of the product to calculate the total production in 1 year. That means we are not adding the total number of the goods and services produced in our country, but instead the number we are adding the total value of goods produced in our country, the total value of goods and services produced in our country. For example, a farmer having 10,000 kilograms of paddy, how can we assess the value of paddy? Is it in kilograms? No. We are assessing the value of paddy in terms of its value or the money which brought by selling this paddy. The farmer sells this paddy for 25 rupees per kg. That he having 10,000 kilograms of paddy and he sells the paddy at the rate of 25 per kg. Therefore, when he sold 10,000 kilograms of paddy at the rate of 25 rupees, the farmer get the total value of paddy as 2,50,000 rupees. The farmer get the total value of paddy rupees 2,50,000. Therefore, we can simply say that the value of 10,000 kilogram paddy is equal to 2,50,000 rupees that the farmer produced in 1 year the goods for the value of 2,50,000 rupees. In the same way, another farmer having 5,000 coconuts, he want to sell the 5,000 coconuts at the rate of 10 per coconut. When he sell out all these coconuts, the farmer will get 50,000 rupees. Therefore, we can say that the value of 5,000 coconut at the rate of 10 per coconut is 50,000 rupees. The farmer earned 50,000 rupees by selling 5,000 coconut. This is just an example we said. We are actually not producing 10,000 kg paddy or 5,000 number of coconuts. In all around our country, in all these states, the people produces different types of product, whether it is agricultural or industrial or in terms of service. Then how can we find out the total value of all goods? Do we need to count all these goods and the services produced in our country in every year? Do we need to count all these? Or what is the easy and possible way for estimating the total value of goods and services produced? For instance, let us talk about a farmer who is selling 100 kg paddy. A farmer sells 100 kg paddy at the rate of 25 rupees per kg to a miller. The rice miller buys 100 kg paddy from the farmer at the rate of 25 rupees. Therefore, the miller has to pay rupees 2,500 for buying the paddy. And after buying this paddy, the miller take it to the mill and make it into rice. After processing the paddy, the miller get 80 kg of rice and 20 kg husk. So the miller paid 25 rupees per kg to the farmer. Now he got 80 kg rice and 20 kg husk. The rice miller sells the rice and husk to a hotelier, a person who is running a hotel. He sells the 80 kg rice at the rate of 40 rupees per kg, and he also sells the husk to the same hotelier at the rate of 20 per kg. Therefore, by selling 80 kg rice at the rate of 40 rupees and 20 kg husk at the rate of 20 rupees, the rice miller earns rupees 3,600. By selling 80 kg rice and 20 kg husk, the rice miller gets rupees 3,600. And the hotelier take it to the hotel and he convert the rice into different eatable products like idli or dosa or another eatable products, and he sells to his customer. And at the same time, the husk which he bought from the miller, he uses as the fuel for making all this or for cooking all these products. And at the end, the hotelier earns rupees 5,000 by selling the product which he cooked out of the rice using the husk as the fuel. The hotelier at the end earns rupees 5,000. The total value of goods sold at each stage, we can see that in stage 1, that the sale of paddy by the farmer to the rice mill owner, there we can see that the farmer got rupees 2,500. In stage 2, we see that the rice miller takes it and processing and making into rice and selling to the hotelier. In stage 2, the value of the goods become 3,600. And in stage 3, the hotelier processes it into food items and sold to the customers directly for the consumption. And the third stage, the hotelier earns rupees 5,000. So then, what is the total value of the goods? How can we find out what is the total value of the goods? In this example, paddy, rice and the husk is standing as the intermediary goods. And what is an intermediary goods? The intermediary goods means the goods which uses as an input to make a final goods is known as the intermediary goods. What is an intermediary goods? Anything which we use, goods which we use for the production of a final goods is known as the intermediary goods. Here we can see the idli, dosa are the final goods, and rice, paddy and the husk stands as the intermediary goods. To calculate the value of the final goods, if we are adding the value of all these three stages, it is doubling. That means when the farmer sells the paddy to the rice miller, he pays rupees 2,500, and after processing the rice miller get rupees 3,600. And in the third stage, when the hotelier process it into different consumer goods, and he gets rupees 5,000. We cannot add the 2,500 plus 3,600 plus 5,000. Then we are doubling it. We are double adding the amount. So we have to take only the amount 5,000, which is earned by the hotelier as the final value of the goods. Because in this 5,000, the hotelier already paid rupees 3,600 to the miller, and the miller already paid rupees 2,500 to the farmer. Therefore, the 5,000 includes the other two amounts. We cannot count the value of paddy and rice or the husk separately, since it all stands as the intermediary goods, and when the final product is made by the hotelier and he sells directly to the consumer. Therefore, the other two, the amount for the paddy and for the rice, cannot be calculated as the value of the product. If in case instead of the hotelier, the rice was sold by a family for its use, then we can say that the rice as the final product, because when it is bought by a family, they are not sold it as the another product, just the rice they used for their own consumption. Whereas the hotelier produce it or processing it into different food product and selling and earning a profit. Therefore, there is a difference when the rice is bought by a hotelier and a family. When a family bought the rice, the rice becomes the final good, whereas a hotelier buys the rice stands as the intermediary good, and idli or dosa or whatever the food items which the hotelier produced becomes the final goods. Another way of calculating the value is counting the final value or the profit only. That means in the above example we saw the farmer sells the paddy for 2,500 rupees. If we think that it has a profit of the farmer paid by the miller for his production, and the miller take it and processing it into rice and husk, and he earn rupees 3,600. That is 2,500 plus 1,100. That means already 2,500 the miller have given to the farmer, and now he earns rupees 1,100. So now we have two values. First of all 2,500. Now in the second stage when it comes, it is 1,100. When it comes in the third stage, the hotelier makes rupees 5,000 by making the rice into different food product. In this 5,000, already the hotelier paid 3,600. Therefore, the final value or the final profit what the hotelier get is 1,400. Therefore, we can calculate the 2,500 got by the farmer and 1,100 the profit of the miller and 1,400 the profit of the hotelier. When we add 2,500 plus 1,100 plus 1,400 equal to 5,000. So in this both case, the final value comes equal. Whether we are taking the value of final goods only or if we are taking the profit. In both these cases, we get 5,000 as the answer. When we are calculating the value of a goods, we use either of these one. Either we take the value which is added in each step, or we take the value of the final goods as the value of a product. Likewise, the final value of the goods and services produced in each sector is calculated as the total production of the year. The total value of goods and service produced in each sector in an year is considered as the total value of production of that particular sector. And the sum of all the final goods and services produced in these three sectors are calculated as the total income of the country or the total goods and services produced in our country, which is also known as the GDP or the gross domestic product. What is GDP? The total value of final goods and services produced in our country in an year is called as the GDP. By this time you might have observed that when it is talking about the GDP, the year is given as 2009-10 or 2011-12 or maybe 2020-21. Why? Because the GDP calculates from April 2020 to March 2021. That is from April 1st of 2020 to March 31st of 2021. And this is also known as the financial year. The financial year is always counted from April 1st to March 31st. The GDP records only the market value of all final goods and services produced. But there are many items which are not sold or purchased in the market. One such example is the work of our mothers in our home. They does a lot of work like cooking, cleaning, washing clothes, bringing up the children, tending the plants and the domestic animals. These are the works they usually do in our houses. But these works are not counted in GDP and it is standing outside of GDP because these are not fetching any money, or the services of our mothers are not a monetary transaction or which is not based on any money. Therefore, it stands out of GDP. But we cannot neglect their services because their services are extremely important for the economy of our country. When our mothers are taking care of the family, the father or the other male members of the family can go out and engage in different types of employment that fetch the income to the family. Therefore, the services of the women at our home is very much important for the economy.